Hello everyone! Contrary to popular belief, the cat has not always bumped the keyboard. There was in fact a time when I used to dabble in the artistry of the keyboard myself. Sir, how many of you remember the original theatrical version of Wayne's World, where Wayne went into a guitar store and unmistakably, undeniably started playing Stairway to Heaven, but in all future concurrent releases, home video and such, due to licensing issues, that song was completely gone and replaced with garbage. I mean, complete garble when he starts playing the guitar, like he's playing it bad. But in fact, in the original theatrical version, he's playing the true Stairway to Heaven, which is kind of funny. And I've seen many movies over the years that have done similar things as far as removing stuff. And I'm going to go over some more of these in the horror extravaganza and such. But in any case, I'm going to talk about if I was going to rewrite the Stairway to Heaven song to kind of equate to today's situation with the mini classics, particularly the Sony PlayStation Classic, I might make the lyrics more attuned to something like this. There's a system I know, didn't quite glitter like gold, didn't have many good games to play. No Crash Bandicoot, no Spyro the Dragon, not even a Castlevania inside. Hello everyone, welcome to the dawn of a new era. In the year 2016, we had the NES Classic, 2017, the SNES Classic, and of course in 2018, the PlayStation Classic. And due to your typical nature of attempting to get something out before Christmas rush and such, the holiday should I say, it ended up being a veritable failure, of epic disproportions. The system had bad reviews, bad lineup of games, and of course the system dropped in price within 2 days. 40% within 2 days. My first video kind of went into detail about I wouldn't recommend anybody modding or trying to hack their system until things were a bit safer, because some of the modifications that were floating about, the variants were basically overwriting system files rather than properly and safely overmounting them. And right now I'm going to be opening up Hakchi, and I'm going to be doing something very different. I'm actually going to be using Hakchi to export games for use on my PlayStation Classic. And this is an unreleased modification, which is going to be out in the very near future, maybe within the next few weeks. But let's get some games here. One game that would have been a system killer if it would have been on the system. System killer and system seller would have been Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Then we have Shippoki Ralph No Dabuken, which translates to Adventure Little Ralph. It is a deceptively cute but very difficult action platformer game. Very cool stuff. And then we have the single worst entity for a PlayStation 1 game ever made, Cosmic Race. This makes E.T. for Atari 2600 look like a gem in comparison. I'm going to export right now. I'm going to export to my Sony flash drive, which I'm going to be using on the PlayStation Classic. And we're going to be talking about a thing called the Bandersnatch principle right now. This is a very, very cool concept that is in a new Black Mirror episode on should we say Netflix, for those of you who have Netflix. And you're able to do the concept nature of doing a choose your own adventure scenario, wherein various things will pop up on the screen throughout the course of the episode. You can even choose what breakfast cereal your main character eats. I don't want to get too much into detail about these choices, but for those of you who have ever read stuff like Choose Your Own Adventure, books from the 1970s, 80s, and so on, you know exactly what I'm getting into. And 10 years ago, there's a great movie that used this concept to a lesser degree, called Return to House on the Haunted Hill, which I have on Blu-ray. It's one of my favorite Blu-rays, and I've not really seen many other movies follow this. But let's talk about another system that failed, and ironically, this system failed in the end due to various reasons, one of which was Sony came along with games such as Madden and Tekken and just pretty much usurped it from and dethroned it. So here we go. Threepio. And one of my favorite games that I used to play on this was actually Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which I'm going to open up right now. And there's some great games on this system. I used to rent the system along with the Neo Geo. I couldn't afford these when these came out because they were just simply far too expensive. I was able to have stuff like the TurboGrafx 16, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, but these systems that were like $700 like this, I couldn't afford these at the time, especially on a paper route. But this is incredible. I mean, the animations are actually improved from the arcade version, and the soundtrack is absolutely astoundingly awesome. And I used to rent the system and play games like this, Need for Speed, Road Rash, I mean, Killing Time, some of them really cool exclusive games, and of course full motion video games. But listen to this incredible soundtrack, and this track mode is amazing. This is one of the custom OSTs that I was hoping to have implemented for MAME 2003, but the first game that I'd like to have done before this would be Marvel vs. Capcom 1. But right now you can actually play this soundtrack on the MSU1 version with the Super Nintendo version of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. But listen to how incredible this music is. And yes, due to the lessons downloader lax, should we say, security of the PlayStation Classic, the system was hacked and direct root access was obtained within 2 single days of it being released. I mean, it is ridiculous. But one thing I'd like to mention here is, if you go into my core set release, I'm going to go with right now. This is going to be in the new release, which is going to post soon after this video. You could go into Extras, Tools, PlayStation 1, and you're going to have all the tools you need for beginner, intermediate, advanced, and extra, like super advanced stuff, like for new game image right here. You can do this for stuff like Crash Bandicoot, which are some of the more difficult games to rip, especially if you're trying to work within the context of 200 to 300 megabyte internal NAND flash memory on the NES and the SNES Classic, respectively. But yeah, pretty much everything you can need here, and I've covered pretty much every one of these tools in my previous videos, and I'll link to some of them in the description. But we're going to check out these 3 games here in a moment here. Okay. And I'm going to make sure I safely remove this hard drive, flash drive should I say. I'm using this Linux file systems because I am running an ext4 drive, so I'm going to unmount it now that it's successfully exported to games. And then I'm going to boot it up with my PlayStation Classic. But let's close this 3DO emulator for now. And I'm going to switch over to the Classic right now. It is always a good idea to safely remove your hardware, otherwise you might run into corruption and such. So let's get booted up real quick. And this is shaping up quite nicely. And when I'm talking about the Bandersnatch principle, you guys and gals have something to really think about for a moment. Depending on your feedback, the seriousness of this truly being implemented to a fuller degree and being fully fleshed out on the SNES, should we say PlayStation Classic with Hakchi, is going to be dependent on how you guys and gals give feedback on this. I mean, Team Shinkansen is going to be watching this video and following the feedback, but here we have the 3 games I added. Let's try Cosmic Race. And again, this is a terrible, terrible game. I remember reading about this in magazines way, way back, and it was absolutely canceled for the United States, but it was released in Japan. And I can't even get past the first race in this game. It is that bad of a game. And one thing that's interesting about games like E.T. when they came out, Atari didn't allow any developers to have their names in the games. I mean, Adventure, as a result, was the first game to ever have an Easter egg where the developer put his name in a hidden room in the game. But David Crane, who made Pitfall, ended up leaving Atari with a few other people, and they formed Activision so that they could actually get proper credits for the games they made. And what you might not have realized is that a big, big hit for Atari 2600, Yard's Revenge, that same guy made E.T. in 3 weeks. So yes, he made one of the best games on Atari and one of the worst. I mean, nobody in their right mind can make a game in 3 weeks, especially back then. And like the Bandersnatch, I don't want to get too much into it. I mean, I'd rather you guys check it out for yourself. But let's check this out for a quick moment. Again, this is an awful, awful game. I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm just wondering why this game was ever even made. I mean, look at some of these characters here. Jeez, this is just so bad. Okay, let's check this out. Now, I always got to remember when you're playing a Japanese game, normally in a US game, you're pushing the X button to move forward and the circle button to move backwards, but it's the opposite. You're pushing the circle button to move forward in a Japanese game. But yes, this game was absolutely canceled for United States release, but I remember reading about it, along with games such as Wipeout and Tomb Raider and all that when the system first came out. Look how bad this is. This is terrible. Yeah, that's as bad as it is. Okay, I'm gonna exit back and try out these other games real quick. We'll do Chipoki, Ralph, No Dabuken. And by the way, these games I'm currently running, I'm able to sync or export them to the PlayStation Classic as well as the NES and SNES Classic, and they work on all three systems just fine. And there are a few more things that are going to be adjusted and tweaked for the final release, but again, depending on how badly you guys and gals really want this to be implemented and incorporated into the context of Hakchi as a true design scheme, just leave some feedback, what you guys and gals would think, because I think this is a solid brand that many of us have been following for 2 years, and I stand fully behind this as the way moving forward. I mean, this is a great thing right here. I mean, this is the ultimate management for games. Great game here. And I am running EXT4 right now, which is definitely fast. On my SNES Classic, I run an SSD, a solid state drive. That is what I found to be the best setup for the OTG, which is an Initech OTG adapter. But yes, this game is actually much more difficult than it appears to be. But it is also a really cool game, and I really wish this will one day show up on the United States PlayStation Network. Look at that, just like that, done like that. Okay, and of course we have Symphony of Night, which I don't really need to test. We all know that's one of the best games ever, but I'm going to shut down right now. And, actually, since it takes about 40 minutes to basically export maybe 70 to 100 games, I did that already on my other flash drive, and I'm going to boot up with the other flash drive. I'm going to check out some more games. Okay, let's check out this lineup here. And yes, we'll have folders in future releases as well. And of course, I'm testing out RetroArch, and we'll have a lot of things going on with that. But let's see what kind of games we can check out here, because there are a lot of surprises on the PlayStation 1. I mean, it is a fantastic system with well over 1,000 games. I mean, I have quite a few games here. One thing that I found very interesting is one of my absolute favorite games of all time is actually playable on the PlayStation, and I'm going to play it right now. This is a Japanese-only game, and it actually contains NES games on it, which I think is awesome. And I can't tell you how difficult it was for me to get this game when it first came out. I actually called Toys R Us up every day after school. I'm like, do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have it? One of my friends ended up getting a copy of the game. And I traded my entire 14-game collection for this game because I really wanted it that bad. You'll see it in a moment here. But yes, Sunsoft is a beautiful company with many great games behind them. And again, I'm pushing the circle button to move forward. And you'll know what game this is the moment it starts playing. But I'm going to be posting the NES and SNES Classic update, and then I'm going to be focusing 110% on trying to keep everything pretty much kosher with all three systems from this point forward. Yes, we are officially playing Blaster Master on PlayStation 1. How awesome is that? And over the years, one of the biggest things I've ever been getting into, I mean, I love emulating on PC, but on every system I've ever owned, anytime they have any kind of collection of games, like an arcade collection, any kind of collection or compilation, I pick them up. I mean, I have a whole shelf full of nothing but these. And in one of my earlier videos, I actually showcased about 30 of these, just showing the boxes. I'll have to do that in another video, but I also did a kind of a memory thing where I went back and did about half of this game, just to see if I could remember it. I did that in one of my NES Classic videos. Yes, I actually remember this entire game from beginning to end. It's one of the games that I played the most way back. And I'm a big fan of the Wii one, and of course the newer 3DS one. And I even like the Genesis one. I mean, I pretty much liked every Blaster Master, and of course I even played the Blaster Master Blastin' Again, which was on the PlayStation 1. And yes, this game does not really translate to 3D whatsoever. But great game here. Let's see what else we have. I'm going to have to definitely come back and do an entire playthrough of this game. This is awesome. But Sunsoft made some other incredible games, and let's see what else they made. Okay, they also made this great game. I'm going to show you right now, Mr. Gimmick. And this is what I refer to as like an earlier Angry Bird style game. Because it really does have that cool pool style, billiard style gameplay with a character, kind of like you would expect in an Angry Birds game. This is a game that was never released in the United States, along with Euphoria, another great game they made. I mean, but unfortunately, a lot of companies like Irem Data East, Taito, and of course Sunsoft eventually went down under. I mean, it is what it is, but a lot of these developers are working for other companies now. Hopefully not doing microtransactions through companies like EA and such. We have Battle Formula, and here we have Mr. Gimmick. Great, great game. This is one of the games that we originally had to patch due to the mapper and such on the NES and SNES Classic. Now, I also love Fester's Quest, even though it was an incredibly difficult game. But yes, you can hold the button down and do kind of like an Angry Bird style tactile attack. And you know, in a lot of my videos, I always show off obscure games or relatively lesser known games. This game really isn't that well known to the masses, but it is a great game. And I'm failing pretty miserably right now. I'm trying to get a little bit further. I'm feeling pretty bad here. Let's see if I can do a little bit better on the third one. I'm trying to do that Forza habit where I hold the button down like I do in Mario when I'm running. Okay, 4 times the charm. I got this. I'm gonna say the cat was bumping the controller. There we go. It's all about timing. There we go. So again, just like that Chipoki, no Deboken, it is actually deceptively cute, but truly challenging. This is not an easy game whatsoever. But it's very, very cool. Look at that. It's almost like playing Battle Kid. Game over. I suck. Okay. But yeah, it's a great game. Definitely check out Mr. Gimmick. I mean, sorry I failed at it really, really hardcore there. And then they have another game which I found very awesome. We'll try Volume 5 here. This is actually a game called Journey to Silliest. And again, I never edit my videos. If I'm going to be sucking at a game, you're going to see me truly suck at the game. But I'm going to definitely be playing Mr. Gimmick some more because it is a great, great game. And I'm kind of surprised Euphoria nor Mr. Gimmick never came to the United States. And I'm going to be showcasing something else. I mean, something else that might surprise you guys and gals. You'll see it in the next couple minutes. But I think this is, I'm pretty sure this is Journey to Silliest right now that I'm playing. Yep, Journey to Silliest. Great, great epic soundtrack there. And this might surprise you, but this was actually meant to be a Terminator game. But they didn't get the license, so yes, this is a Terminator game without the license. Can you imagine this if this would have actually had the Terminator license? It really feels and plays just like a Terminator game. It would have obviously had music more appropriate to Terminator, but this is a great, great game. But this happens to quite a few games, like the Starship Hector, which was obviously meant to be a Star Trek game, but they didn't get the license for that either. And then Stellar Check for Atari 2600 was another game that also lost the license. But right now I'm going to be getting into something else which I find incredibly interesting. This is a game that many, many years ago, I actually drove like a good hour and a half to get all 5 of these collections. And I'm going to play Volume 5 right now. This is an arcade game that I really, really enjoyed, and it's always been a favorite of mine. It is a very obscure arcade game, and I believe it was only released in Japan. But it's called Legend of the Valkyrie. And this is a game that has had multiple versions over the years, but it is very obscure, and most of these have been Japanese released. Okay, let's check this out. See the game list here. And I pretty much picked up every Namco collection over the years that have appeared on Nintendo 64, PSP, Wii, all that good stuff. No, I don't need to register right now. I just want to play the game. Here we have Legend of Valkyrie, along with other great games like Dragon Spirit. Dragon Spirit is fantastic, and I remember playing it on TurboGrafx 16. It was so close to the arcade version that I was very, very happy. And I've talked about my how I obtained the TurboGrafx, should we say Turbo Duo, way back, where somebody came into a video game exchange where I worked with a whole box load of Turbo Duo, TurboGrafx CD Who cards and such, along with a Symphony of Night, Godzilla, multiple other things, and I asked them how much they wanted for it because we couldn't take them in, but they asked for $40 US, and that's what I paid for it. But yes, I actually drove a good hour and a half to get all 5 of these volumes because I'm a big arcade fanatic, and it was so great having all these arcade games at home, especially for playing on my PlayStation 1. And what's really, really interesting about this is that this is actually a lesser version of a better remake of this game, and I'm going to show you this. Because in the United States, we got this version of this on the Namco collection, but in Japan, they got an entirely different version. Still a fun game though, and again, there are multiple versions of this game. There's one on the Famicom disc system, as well as the arcade version, the TurboGrafx 16 version, and this version right here, but there's one other version too that I'm going to show you briefly. But very, very fun game. It does have a 2-player mode activate game, where you can play as like a lizard-style character. But we're going to move on to the other version right now, which is actually on the Japanese-only collection called Namco Anthology 2. And this is very awesome because these collections, 1 and 2, actually have the original versions as well as the remakes. So you're going to get a vastly improved version of Legend of Valkyrie, which I just showcased you for a brief moment, but you're also going to get the Famicom original version. But definitely digging a PlayStation Classic, and I feel bad that there's so many bad reviews because I bought this on day one, and I'm very, very happy with the system. I mean, even the vanilla experience was more than adequate for my personal taste, being a big, big PlayStation fan. But I love this right here because, yes, we do have multiple versions. Here we go, the Valkyrie. We have the original, and then we have the newer version. Here's the original, and I'll try the newer remake right now. This is a beautiful game indeed. I mean, I'm thoroughly disappointed this never made it onto the Volume 5 collection for the United States, but it made it onto the Anthology 2 for Japan. We get shafted so much here. But yes, this is a great, great remake of the game. And it would be very, very nice to see this pop up on the PlayStation Network for PlayStation 4, or even on Xbox One or Nintendo Switch one of these days, because this game definitely needs to make a resurface in. Okay, let's check this out. You can see there's a definite difference between this and the one I just showed you on Namco Volume 5. And there's an even bigger difference if I showed the original version. Right from the get-go, better music, better sound effects, better graphics. It's all much better. Not worried about saving it right now. Now I've played enough Japanese games over the years to understand some of the dialogue here and there. But yes, this is actually the definitive version of Legend of Valkyrie on Namco Anthology Volume 2. And if you ever played Super Nintendo, you might be familiar with games like Pocky and Rocky, which are a little bit like this, but I still like this game a lot better than those. A little bit of a shmup hybrid of sorts. And it is very cool to see the difference between this and the original Famicom disc version, which I'll show you in a moment too after I do this one. But we got a few more games to showcase today. And I like the TurboGrafx 16 version because even though it starts out seeming like the arcade version, there are actually levels that aren't even in the arcade version. So yes, it is fun to play all the different versions of this, from the original Famicom 1 to the TurboGrafx 16, the arcade version, and of course this version. They're all very, very fun games. And I'm definitely better at games like this than I am at stuff like Angry Birds. But definitely check this out. I mean, I'm gonna actually restart this game real quick. I'll come back in and show you the original version. Okay, let's reload that again. And I'm going to load the original Famicom version right now. Okay. And I think that is very, very cool seeing like the original version and then the redone version. It's kind of like the rearrangements that the PSP version had. And I'll think of a few more games to showcase for this video, and then I'm going to get the update out. But I'm going to go to Valkyrie again. Then I'm going to go to the original version. So it's right there, Game Start Original. And there's a vast difference between this one I just showed you. But yes, I spent a couple hours beating the one that I just showed you. It's so fun to pick it up and play. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like games like Ninja Princess too. But yes, this is the original Legend of Valkyrie, way back from 1986 for the Famicom. For some reason, this kind of reminds me a bit of the Kid Icarus music. Another game I really love, but not made by the same company. But I think this is awesome that you have both this version as well as the newer version on the same disc. But yes, I got my butt kicked on there. Let's see what else we have. We got some more games to check out here. Let's try a shmup. We could try out, how about Sexy Proteus? I always had fun playing that game. If you like games like Gradius and R-Type, and of course Life Force, you're going to be right at home with this game. It is kind of like an offshoot parody satire game of the Gradius series. And if you've ever played YY World 2, which is Konami World 2, there are actually Proteus-style levels in the context of that game too. You can even use Vic Viper directly from the Gradius series. And one thing people have been asking, how well does the PlayStation Classic handle games in comparison to the original NES and SNES? I'm actually going to show you something very interesting today. We're going to get to that in the next couple minutes though. I'm a big fan of all these various games that Konami has made. But I'm going to be showing you something else very much like what I just showed you with Legend of Valkyrie, the original and the newer version. And this is going to actually surprise you in a very positive way because the newer version I'm going to show you is a game that doesn't work properly on the NES and SNES Classic, but it does on the PlayStation Classic. So this makes me very happy as it is one of my favorite games. And I can only guess what boss I'm going to be fighting up here because you can see these coming right at me here. And this is one of the games that if you plan to play it on the NES or SNES Classic, you do need the Konami GX BIOS in order to play it. But I'll get to this first boss real quick, and then we're going to move on to the game I am talking about next. This game definitely holds up quite well. I remember the first time I ever beat Gradius on the original Nintendo was using an NES Advantage, playing the entire game with turbo and slow motion at the same time. So I've since been able to beat it without doing slow motion, but I still like to use Turbo Fire in my shmup games. Okay, we should be to the boss here soon. I like that little bit of invincibility frames there for a few seconds. And we have the corn on the cob boss, obviously. Shooting popcorn at me. Kind of reminds me of like Fantasy Zone, that great Sega game. Take this boss out real quick. Kind of reminds me of the style I used to use when I played games such as Track and Field, where I'd have to do my index finger and middle finger repeatedly to be able to pull off the turbo fire effect. But let's see what else we have to go here. We're going to do what I'm talking about. Right now I'm going to be loading up another Namco collection. We're going to do Namco Volume 2. This is going to be the original version that I'm talking about. Then I'm going to show you the redone version of this, which actually works on the PlayStation Classic, but has some very graphical issues on the Mini NES and SNES. This is another game with a few in the series, but I'm going to show you the first and then the most current one. And I'm talking about Dragon Buster. And see if any of you guys gals know what game I'm talking about, which is the follow-up to this. We'll get to that next. Now we got the little boot-up sequence like when you plug in the arcade version. And just like that Legend of Valkyrie transition, this transition from this to new version is actually awesome. You'll see what I mean. So yes, this is the original version. And yes, there are dragons in this game. So yes, this is Dragon Buster. And then we're going to move on to the other version that I'm talking about now. Okay, the other version I'm talking about is actually called Dragon Valor. And this is a fantastic game, and it has bad issues on the NES and SNES Mini, but it works great on the PlayStation Classic. And you're going to see that in the future, you're going to have many things that are going to be running a little bit better, or that may work that did not work at all on the Mini NES and SNES. I mean, these better specs are actually proven to be different here. This is awesome. But this is a great, great game. One of my favorite PlayStation 1 games. Not really well known, but yes, it is an updated version of Dragon Buster. If you try running this on the Mini NES and SNES, it has slow motion, and it is just a travesty as far as trying to actually emulate it. But we'll try a few more games out here. So happy to be able to play this game. And by the way, other games like Star Wars Jedi Power Battles, which crashed on the Mini NES and SNES, I've actually successfully been able to get them to play from beginning to end without crashing. And that's going to be something that I'm going to be tweaking in the future so that you guys and gals can do it too. So yes, many of these games that were having issues on the Mini are actually working better here, which I'm very, very happy. To jump, push the jump button. Come on now. Kind of like the Far Cry Blood Dragon tutorial, where that was just absolutely a joke. They made fun of a mockery of the entire system of doing tutorials. This is a very, very cool game because you actually go through a lineage of many family members that once one character dies, you pretty much go down to the next in your line. Very, very cool. So you go through multiple generations through this game. And I still need to test Parasite Eve 2 because I have a feeling that game might actually fare better on the system too. Definitely a great side-scrolling hack and slash game. Makes up for Cosmic Race without a doubt. Of course, I skipped the tutorial there. Definitely digging being able to play this finally. Let's see if we have any other games we can check out for a moment here. Okay, what else do we have to check out here? Oh, Captain Commando, the arcade version. This is another fantastic game made by Capcom. And this, the Captain Commando actually shows up in a lot of Capcom games, almost like as an Easter egg. This has always been a fun arcade game. I never actually got to see this in a real arcade, but I emulated it. Like with Kittens and Dinosaurs. These are two games that I've never officially seen in the arcade. I more or less saw games like Space Harrier, Marble Madness, Badlands that definitely lasered this game. And of course, Pole Position, Robotron, but I never saw some of these lesser known games like this. And of course I have my Ninja Commando type character. I always gotta play the ninja character if I'm able to. Another great two-player mode activate game. And why wasn't this released in the United States? I mean, look at this awesome game here. Nice and violent. Perfectly befitting of my Horror Extravaganza series. Literally just ripping limb from limb, ripping torsos in half. This could be why this game wasn't released in arcades near me. I mean, I'm pretty sure it had a United States release, but it certainly wasn't in arcades near me. Okay. And they really need more of these side-scrolling brawler games. These are so niche, like I said in my other videos. These games are few and far between nowadays with, oh, look at that. It looks like a couple graphical glitches there. There we go, something new. That makes the game kind of funny, though. So another thing to check out and tweak. Kind of reminds me of that one South Park episode where they had to kind of censor out a certain character. That actually makes the game kind of funny. These glitches are hilarious. And this is something I might be able to tweak with video and such. I'm going to play around with this. Now use this game as a test example. A case in point to try to fix up some other games. And this can occur with Neo Geo games that depending on your ROM set and your BIOS configuration and which core you run it on as well. But this is kind of unique to see this in this game. Some graphical glitches here and there. I'm pretty sure there's more graphical glitches. But playing as a ninja in this game is fantastic. And look, they have a little bit of a Blanka style move there. I wonder which game that's from. Street Fighter maybe? We got a couple more games to check, but yes, Captain Commando is definitely very, very cool here. We also have Capcom Generations 2, which I believe has Super Ghouls and Ghosts for Super Nintendo on it, along with some other Arthur games. Why'd they have so many cooler games in Japan than they did in the United States? We should have had this Ghosts and Goblins collection over in the United States too, but unfortunately, alas, we did not. This is why I like to import a lot of the games I had on PlayStation 1 way, way back. But yes, this should be the Arthur collection. There we go. That should be Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Sounds like Super Ghouls and Ghosts to me. Unmistakable music. And if there's ever like 10 games I had to choose for Super Nintendo, this is always in my top 10 each and every time. Along with games like Pilot Wings. And what's interesting about this game is that it actually has no slowdown, wherein the one that you run on the NES and SNES Mini has slowdown, and you can patch against the slowdown though. It runs best on the SNES 9X 2005 or 2005 Plus core though. Give me my crossbow. Need to have my crossbow. Oh great, that weapon sucks. Not off to a great start with that crappy weapon. But yes, this is playing fantastic here. No slowdown whatsoever. And that second stage, after you beat the stage, that I don't want to say what the stage is, but it's actually a really, really cool stage. And one of my favorite stages in any game that I've ever played. This is not the hardest game in the series. This is actually very, very manageable and approachable, other than the twist at the end of the game when you beat it. I'm not going to talk about that either. Oh, great. We all know what happens now. There we go. But I like about Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins on PSP, you're actually able to start right back where you left off immediately. That is very, very cool, unless you play on the hardcore mode. Then another game that I find very cool is Castlevania Chronicles. And this is actually the Sharp 68000 version, which is also on the original MSX. I mean, this is very, very cool stuff here. You can play the rearranged version of it or the original version. And some of the levels in this, I found out later on, are actually in Castlevania 4, Super Castlevania 4 for Super Nintendo. But if you like the original Castlevania 1, this is a great, good take on it. I'm going to do the arrange mode. Yes, I loved having Symphony of the Night as well as this, and this might surprise you, but the very first time I ever beat Symphony of the Night was when I got it on the PSN in roughly the year 2009. I played in the game and dabbled in it, but I wasn't a huge fan of the non-linear Castlevania for many, many years, but then once I approached Symphony of the Night, I went back and played each and every Castlevania game that was non-linear and beat them all. But yes, this is absolutely a fantastic game, and I mean, it didn't really sell too well on PlayStation, but I definitely enjoyed having this one. And you can see it's actually playing it perfectly right now. And I'll definitely be playing many, many more games on the PlayStation Classic videos, but I'm not going to abandon the Mini NES and SNES as well. I'm going to be digging into all three of these systems in the future. And it's very, very nice being able to play the three Castlevania games on the Drastic Core, of course on the Mini NES and SNES, and we'll have to get that going for the Classic as well, this PlayStation Classic. We need to have our heaping helping of DS games here. There's still a lot of surprises in store in the future, as you will soon see. Okay, definitely digging this game. Let's see if we have any other surprise gems to check out for a quick moment here. I'm a big, big shmup fan, so let's try Dodon Pachi for a quick moment. I mean, Cave is the king of shmups next to Irem. I mean, Cave and Irem are two of my absolute favorite shmup companies, and I cannot think of a single bad Cave game, and yes, they have Dodon Pachi on PlayStation 1 in Japan. Okay. Now, I'll definitely be playing a lot more shmups in the future. When you see LJN, you typically have a dreadful feeling, but when you see Atlas or Cave, it nearly always is conceivably a great game. And I'm inserting coins just like the arcade version, of which this game really is.
Okay, the countdown begins. 3, 2, 1,
go. Game holds up really, really well. And I love these shmup games. They're just like pinball, where you can learn them in a minute and take a lifetime to master, because there's actually a deeply rooted, complex set of rules you can use to achieve a very, very high score. And there's a whole group of people that follow these things. I mean, typically when I play a game like this, I play it to beat it. I don't get really too invested in the rules, but when you actually take a few minutes to learn pinball and shmups, you can find out these games are actually much deeper than they first appear to be. A great, great game, and yet another game that should have been released in the United States. Okay, let's pick one more final game for this video. Let's see what we have as our final game here. We'll do some Midway game. How about Arcade Party Pack, which combines several Midway games, and I'm a big Midway fan. And one particular game I love is Smash TV. And it's very, very funny to play Smash TV on Nintendo. That Nintendo version is so awful, but the Super Nintendo version is fantastic. So this will be the final game for this video, and I'll do more videos throughout this week, but enjoy the update, and this will be released in the near future. Before I close the video, I'll show you the icon, the logo for the new modification, which is going to be coming out in the next few weeks or so, if everything works out okay. I'll just do a little bit of Smash TV before I show you that logo. And again, based on your feedback, the seriousness of how deeply rooted this will become with Hakchi in conjunction with the PlayStation Classic is how it's going to work. I mean, I would absolutely love to see this move forward and be much more invested with Hakchi as your basically your multi-purpose tool to use for Mini NES, SNES, and of course PlayStation Classic. Let's try Smash TV for a moment here. And I went to the credits by accident. My little flub for today. Okay, Smash TV, here we come. And Rampage is a very, very fun game as well. And a lot of these games actually run best on MAME 2000 on the Mini NES and SNES. This game always reminded me of a little bit of an offshoot, a takeoff of the movie Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And many of you might not know this, but Running Man, the movie is actually written by Stephen King, but he used Richard Bachman as a pseudonym when he did that, along with a few other stories, such as Thinner. But I was a big fan of that movie, and it's such a cool movie. I almost want to dig that movie up and watch it again. Go back and watch some more Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Then get into some of them great Steven Seagal movies. I love twin-stick shooter games. But yes, when I get to my 5,000 subscribers someday, I'm probably going to be using this game as the leverage to try to get to 5,000 kills, because for my 3,000 subscribers, I took on 3,000 enemies in a multitude of games on multiple platforms. I'm going to save this one for my 5,000 subscriber video. Oh yeah. This game holds up incredibly well. So I'm going to move over to the PC real quick and show you the logo before I close up on this video. Let's show you this logo real quick. The modification is PS-pwned, a little bit of a play on Sony basically inadvertently or maybe unintentionally leaving their security keys in place, making it entirely much easier for people at hand to obtain root access to the system. I mean, this is great. But PS Pound is what it is from this point forward.